Hey, what's up, guys? Books Nelson here, back with another video. And today we'll be talking about this Larry Bird card. Full tutorial, full breakdown on this Larry Bird, this Dark Matter Larry Bird, GOAT Larry Bird, whichever Larry Bird you got, 100 overall. This is going to cover all of them because they are basically all identical, with only their positions being changed. None of the cards has anything outstanding or special above any of the others. So this should serve everybody because we're mostly going to be talking about his dribbling and his shooting anyway. So let's get right into the content. So this Larry Bird card, I want to say two things right at the outset. Number one, he is a difficult card to use, but he's also a great card. So the one thing about Larry Bird that's a weakness is the jumper. Now the jumper is not bad. This is on Hall of Fame difficulty, and I have not mastered his jumper yet, but once you do, it's fine. Now let's look at the jumper off of the Jamal Murray behind the back. It's fine. It's not the best. It's not Patty Mills. It's not T-Mac, but you can definitely get it off, right? So that's the other thing that's hard about the card is because of that jumper. And I want to cover this part first. So he has a tool that is really great, and that is the Steph Curry hop jumper, right? So the Steph Curry hop jumper has a lot of great animations, and it offers you some tools that other cards don't have, but it just is not easy to hit those with his upper from certain angles and certain shots, right? Like that one right there is kind of tough. Let's look at that animation real quick. And we're going to get to all of the SIGs and all of that stuff soon, but I wanted to break this down for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So this shot right here is actually a great shot. We're going to get into why when we get into the SIGs, right? This shot right here is a great shot for Larry, but you can see this is a Steph Curry animation. Right, you see the body's doing Steph Curry stuff, but the upper, I mean, it's really different from his upper because it doesn't go behind his head. But you see this where the hand is in front of him? This, the way it moves at that angle is really hard to see. However, if you can get that, you're good to go. Now, there's another part of the card that's actually quite easy, and that's his dribbling. And so we're going to start from this first. So let's talk about his SIGs. Number one, he's got Kyrie Irving dribble style, right? So Kyrie Irving dribble style comes with one very important factor, and that's that you can burst out of any move without the need of a hezzy cancel. He's got Steve Francis signature size up. So let's talk about the Steve Francis size up and talk about it combined with Kyrie Irving dribble style because it's really important to get the most out of Larry Bird. So here's the Steve Francis size up. We're going to go through all of the dribbles one by one. So this is crossover. See, the crossover gives him a lot of movement. This is between the legs. The between the legs has very little movement, right? And that's an important contrast because this is one of the things that makes the crossover, the Steve Francis so dynamic, is the crossover has a lot of movement, but if you want to keep it tight, you can use this dribble, and both things are important. And then here is the behind the back, right? So now, before we move forward into the way this blends with the dribble style, here's what happens, and this is an important skill. If you're learning to dribble, the most difficult parts of dribbling is like L2 canceling and stuff like that. But with the Kyrie Irving dribble style, you can be a really great dribbler without having to do the most difficult parts of dribbling because the Kyrie Irving dribble style and the Steve Francis size up take away the need for some of that more difficult stuff. I'm going to show you how right now. Okay, so if you're doing crossovers and then you do them in a measured fashion, you see here, this is basically the same thing as an escape move, right? So he has tray escape. If I do tray escape back and forth, he has this kind of rock the baby motion, but he can get that from his size up. This is important, and we'll talk about why later on, but for now, just understand that you do have access to this. Now, there is a more advanced technique that you can put to this, which is basically you do that and you cancel it, right? You see that? So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm canceling it by pressing down. And that gives him what I call that little diddy bop motion, right? Where he just stops in one spot by canceling that dribble. And so this is another thing that normally you'd have to do with the escape. You'd have to do a left stick escape cancel to do that. But with him, he can do it with the dribble style. Very easy, right? So you just do the crossover and then tap down on the left stick. So that has more combo applications later on. Between the legs, here's what happens if you go slowly between the, oh, that was too fast. Slowly between the legs. He really wants to do that. Yeah, slow. You got to be really slow and patient with it. Otherwise, he'll do that little combo there. But you see here, as you stack these between the legs, he has these built-in size-up combos. in this combo motion, right? And then here's the behind the back. If you do it slowly. Now, if you do it fast, he has this auto combo, right? This auto combo kind of dance. And so now you start to see some of the specialness of the Steve Francis style, because if you mix all these things together, Larry Bird has built-in combos and movement, and he doesn't need to access some of the same tools that other cards need to access. There's one more dribble I'm actually just from Glad I reminded myself, this in and out. This is a great in and out move. It's great to blend into a lot of your combos, right? So just up diagonal on the stick, same side as the ball hand to get this in and out move, and you're good to go. And then up to the left, you'll get the hezzy. And there you go, right? So this in and out move, so even, let's just look at this for a second, right? That's just with the left stick doing, with the right stick doing nothing else, right? And you already have that stuff going. All right, so we're gonna leave. So now we're gonna blend this stuff with the Kyrie Irving dribble style. So here's the important thing. You see when I do this dribble move and the ball goes into my hand like that? That is your cancel window to burst out of it. When the ball's up in the palm of his hand, right? And then he'll burst out of it. If you do it too early, it might be a little sluggish, and if you do it too late, it might be a little sluggish. But if you time it when the ball is in that hand, you'll get a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a burst. Now, this is important because when you're doing these size up dribbles and you're setting people up, and then you burst out of it like that, it's basically the same thing as a hesitation cancel, except all you have to do is press turbo. So you get a feel for that, and already, let's just talk about, let's just show you those tools back and forth, right? With nothing else, you already can move and groove with Larry Bird. Shout out to Ty Debo. And no problem. No hezzy cancels, nothing necessary. Left trigger is not being pressed. You're able to move around very easily and burst out of it no matter what you do, right? So like take that little behind the back combo into the Kyrie Irving behind the back escape, right? Like with Kyrie Irving dribble style, if I hold the left analog stick behind me, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, he puts the ball behind his back like this. So this is not right stick ripper bait. So it's kind of an important dribble because people are always like, oh, if you do those dribble moves, you get ripped. Guys, I play in the rec all the time. I have hundreds of games I've played against a bajillion lockdowns, both good lockdowns and terrible lockdowns. And you can dribble in front of a lockdown if you know what dribbles to do, right? If you get in front of a lockdown and start doing this stuff, you can get plugged. But if you hit a lockdown with this right here, they're not going to steal that, like 99 times out of 100. So if you're worried about getting plugged in this game, a lot of times it's because you don't know what dribbles to do. Like you'll see often in a competitive context, people will spam behind them back Jamal Murray. It's because it's harder to plug, right? When the ball's in front of you or out to one hand, it's easier to plug. Now here's the thing. When people are playing defense on you, and this is a tutorial, so we're going to talk about strategy a little bit, right? We're not just going to showcase the moves. When people are playing defense on you, they're looking to get to your ball hand so that they can right stick ripper. So when you square up your shoulders, that's when you're vulnerable. But with this dribble style, when are my shoulders squared up, right? When's it happening? Like, with the Steve Francis and the ball is constantly switching hands and I'm not using adrenaline while doing it. And I can burst out of anything whenever I want. So that makes it a lot more difficult for the defender to line you up, which gives you a lot more flexibility to attack the defender, right? And this is just literally, moving the right stick left and right up at the diagonals and getting used to that. So if you're new to dribbling and you're trying to get a hold of it, this is an excellent dribble style and size up to use because it doesn't require anything fancy. All it requires is that you as a player get your timings down and not rush everything. That's people's biggest problem is they slap the stick too hard and too often. Pause, right? Get off the stick, stop beating it up, and take your time, take your patience. Shout out to Dazar. Watch Dazar's dribble tutorials where he's just talking about the mechanics of the game, and he'll always preach patience. He'll always preach, taking your time and being a little gentle on the stick and looking at the timings and the rhythm of the character. All right, now I know that was a long one, but I think this is a tool that a lot of you, if you do get this card, and there's 500 of them in packs, so I hope you got at least one of the Dark Matters like I did here. I got the shooting guard version after only spending 120 something MT, so I got very, very lucky. I just got him in the manual quickly, and there'll be a video on quickly as well. All right, so now we can move forward. So those are two tools that anybody can use. Just take it one tool at a time. You know, if you want to just work on the crossover, just work on that, right? Just work on that Larry Bird crossover and burst out of it and feel good about it. It's basically the same. It's like a built-in escape burst without having to use the escape. You know, really, really useful tool for that. And you can mix that in with coming back to the other hand and and then using that Kyrie Irving dribble style to explode out of it. All right. So the next tool is the tray escape. So we've talked about the tray escape a lot in previous videos, and this is just basically a great left stick cancel move. It's definitely more advanced because the thing about the tray escape is you have to have the timing of that burst, right? If you go too fast, you get a momentum dribble. So you kind of have to wait. And the way 2K is with lag and servers, you have to kind of just be used to that timing of putting in that move and waiting for it and bursting at the right time, you know? And that's really it for like the escapes is you have to get used to bursting at the right time. The other thing the escape provides you is the ability to crab. Now you have to be careful with this because if you dribble into people's bodies, you will lose the ball. But if you do that tray escape properly, you can crab in front of people and get to your shot as well. And you have the between the legs escape. The Kemba between the legs is a little snappier, but the tray one is still very, very usable, as you can see here. And again, for your left stick canceling needs, you know, you can do that. On this channel, we have a good, I think it's good, people seem to like it, left stick cancel tutorial with Kyle Korver. And Kyle Korver, that video will teach you everything you need to know about left stick left trigger canceling, L2 canceling. All right, so combo moves, Tim Hardaway. Solid combo moves here. So what I love about this is because he has these built-in combos, you throw in the combo moves and it just gives him a different look, right? The ball comes out nice and high and you can mix in the behind the back with that, right? I mean, spoiler alert, he has the Jamal Murray behind the back. So you can throw that into anything we've been talking about, right? Right, so the in and out behind the back to the Jamal Murray, the Steve Francis size up behind the back, right? You can throw that in with everything. You can see here Larry's bag as a dribbler is extremely deep. He has basically elite dribbles at every, you know, input. So, and that's one of the reasons that I think Larry is a fantastic card because even if you play him just like as a guy going to the basket, he's very, very good at that. He's very good at that, and your simple moving shots, he's going to be good at that too. So when we talk about Larry being difficult to use, he's difficult to use as an elite card at the top of the skill tier in my team. Like if you want him to be as good as Dr. J, and I have Dr. J, I love Dr. J. Dr. J is one of my absolute favorite cards in the game, as is Ron Artest. If you want Larry to be in that tier, you have to learn his more difficult tools around his shooting to exploit this other stuff. But even with this stuff right here, I think Larry still plays in most lineups because he's so good as a dribbler. He has such great shooting stats and such great size at the 2 and the 3 that if you get a card that can play at the 2 and the 3, a Larry that can play at the 2 and the 3, I definitely think he plays at least on your bench. And for some of you guys, he's going to even start because of his upper ceiling of play. All right, so going forward, that Tim Hardaway combo move is just solid. It's just solid combo move. And I'll just blend it with a few things so you can see here how it looks when you're just thrown into, you know, using the card. And you can see Larry has like a lot of freedom of movement here. He can really just do anything he wants with the ball. And this Tim Hardaway is just icing on the cake. All right, breakdown moves, De'Aaron Fox. So he's got this business going on, which again, just solid. You can just blend that in with everything. I don't think it's necessary with the suite of skills that he has, but it's pretty good. And then with his aggressive breakdown, he's got that LeBron James, baby. And with the Kyrie Irving dribble style, all you have to do, and I encourage you to try this online, hit this move right here and just burst out of it whenever you want. And that is such a great setup move because if people are trying to like play up on you, he automatically crabs when he does that. A lot of comp guards are using that move for that reason because it's an auto crab. But at the same time, it can get to a lot of stuff. As you right there. Basically, everything in his kit can come out of this move. It's just a matter of what you want to do. So once he starts doing that animation, which I've never seen that animation get plucked, it's entirely possible that it's pluckable, but it might be that because it's a canned animation, it's not pluckable. So this is a great setup move because it's a great way to you know, just get your opponent moving and decide whatever you want to do. All right, moving forward, what else we got here? We got the John Wall crossover. This is an important dribble move. So we talk about this a lot on this channel. If you're new to this channel, welcome to this concept. So basically, this is your bread and butter move. This is what a lot of comp guards use to get into the stick dunking, I don't want to say cheese, but basically the strength of that tool. So the idea is you turbo in one direction, and then you hit the moving crossover or any moving dribble really, and then you get here and you stick dunk, right? And we'll show that in a sequence right now. Now, because he has the Kyrie Irving dribble style, normally it would be you burst in one direction, you hit that, and boom, you're on the rim, right? But because he has the Kyrie Irving dribble style, you can really just run in the direction and do that, right? You can just run in the direction, moving crossover, get on the rim. Now, you got to watch that when you're activating it because the angle might give you a step back if you do it at the wrong time. It's like here, he's really vertical towards the rim, so I was able to activate it from far away. But if you're in this area and you're moving to the side a little bit, you might get a step back. So you got to watch out for that. Watch your angles when you're doing that. But yeah, so that's your bread and butter combo. And you can do it twice, by the way. You can do it twice if you want to keep it vertical. A very, very powerful tool that most of the My Team community is not really using yet. I really don't see it much on the footage. But if you look at high-level comp guards with 94 driving dunk, you'll see a lot of that because it's a very strong tool. And the reason it's such a strong tool, it just makes you very fast. But the real reason is because when you're moving in this direction, that's where the help defense is, right? That's your pinch. So you're going to move away from your pinch and get onto the rim. Again, you see moving to the side there, gotta step back. Which that Steph Curry step back is also a viable option. You just want to make sure you're doing it on purpose. So make sure you're nice and vertical on that rim before you hit that stick dunk input so you get the proper stick dunk. And of course, Larry has the stats, badges, and animation package to capitalize off of that at the very highest level. Okay, moving behind the back. So it says pro, but we know that's Jamal Murray. We've kind of talked about that. I'll include that as we talk about combos. It's best moving behind the back behind the game. In the game, I would say the one thing you want to get used to is the L2 cancel with the behind the back if you're trying to be more advanced. Even if you're not trying to be more advanced, just Kyrie Irving to one side and stop. It's okay. But you can see there it's much slower without the L2 cancel. You can sell your opponent on it a little bit if you just move in that direction. But if you want that really sharp change of direction, then you definitely want to bring in the L2 cancel and bounce back off of people. As you can see here, Larry's very capable with it. The other thing you want to get with that Jamal Murray behind the back is the ability to spam it in one direction, right? So back and forth spamming, you see here 5-5, 7-7. You guys can see the controller on the screen. That's how I do it. Some people do the regular hesitation. I don't think there's a reason to do the regular hesitation when the other hezi allows you to do the same direction. Anytime, and this is like an old fighting game trick, if there's an easier way to do something, do it the easier way. Because when, tensions are high and as they say, booties get tight, you don't want execution to be the reason that you mess something up, right? I almost forgot about this little tool. The tray escape, you can also press down on the tray escape and get this little, and again, with the Kyrie Irving dribble style, you can burst out of any direction you want. And you're going to be fine. Obviously, you can momentum out of that. Jamal Murray out of that. That's just more or less a cute thing. If somebody's playing on-ball defense, you can do that. I don't know how effective this is against the CPU. If something is not effective against the CPU, I'll try to, talk about that stuff. But a lot of this stuff is effective against the CPU, particularly L2 canceling. The CPU does not like L2 canceling. The CPU does not like same-side bursts. The CPU does not like Euro steps. The CPU does not like step backs. So if you're not using Euro steps, step backs, same side bursts, and L2 canceling, and you're getting boxed by the CPU, learn those tools and see if you have more success, right? Because the CPU does not guard those things well. It's not 100% success rate, but if you set the CPU up properly, you can score on it consistently by using those tools. Okay, so the Steph Curry moving step back. So here we got to unpack this one. Normally, I would just tell you guys, oh yeah, it's a great moving, it's a great snatch. The hot back's not too good, and we end the conversation there. Now, it is worth note that in the L2 canceling world, it is a great way to get to the snatch back into a jumper. That must be said. But there's an additional factor with Larry Bird here. So when you go into the side, if you have the John Wall, you basically run out of bounds if you do this, right? But with the Steph Curry, you get this short hop, which is great. And honestly, this is good enough that if somebody said, well, this is why I use the Steph Curry over the John Wall or the Chris Paul, I would go, thumbs up, you are 100% right. That is a good reason. Because this short hop keeps you in the action, right? And with the Kyrie Irving dribble style, you can burst the same direction. So this short hop with this Steph Curry dribble style is an excellent tool. But then again, same thing with the, so we're going to show you something interesting. So with the Steve Francis dribble style, size up. So this snatchback normally, with a regular size up, it'll be something like that, right? But with the Steve Francis, look what happens when I do the crossover. Look at that movement. Right? Just a nice, like, I don't want to say glitchy, but it's just a lot of motion for Larry to have access to. And then off of that, again, Kyrie Irving dribble style, you can do whatever you want. Literally burst in any direction you want off of that. But then all the other tools that you talked about are still there with that move. So now you start to see how with Larry Bird, if you really learn this card, or any other card that gets these SIGs, right? These are some special tools that you have access to. I mean, just a total and like full suite of moves to really get into. Like he can honestly do anything that a dribbler wants to do. Larry Bird can do it at the very, very highest level, which as an NBA fan feels strange to say, but as a My Team fan, I just go, yay, right? Yay, this card is actually good. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Larry's fantastic, but you know, you got to get on this jumper. In fact, the number one piece of advice I could give you for this Larry Bird card is before you take him out into the wild, spend some time in this practice mode and feel confident with that jumper. We all know the famous clip of Larry Bird winning the three-point contest by, basically pointing and walking away as the ball went in or whatever, right? Like you got to play Larry like that. You have to be a confident shooter with Larry Bird. All right, so let's get back to the tutorial. So the thing about this Steph Curry hop back in this kind of thing. So if I shoot during the course of that animation, I will get this Steph Curry dribble. I mean, the Steph Curry jumper off of that, right? So let's shoot early. And you see there, so that one where he's running away, you'll get that sometimes. So if you don't want to get trolled by that animation, you see that when he runs away? If you don't want to get trolled by that animation, you got to learn that animation. It is learnable. It's just not easy, you know? You see that there? So the thing that's so special about that is if you do get good at that and you do this and people are biting and you can burst either direction. So it's really unguardable if you were to learn that because, you know, it's just such a good, you know what I mean? Like it's such a good mix up that's the kind of thing where you can say, oh, my Larry's unguardable now, right? And you can do it from a short space. You don't have to like run that far. I'm just running that far to show you guys, but you can see just after one step, you can do it. So you learn that and the other tools I've showed you in this video, and you're good to go. Now we're going to talk about one more tool with Larry Bird before we shut this down. As you can see, this is a very deep card, and it requires a lot of thought. Actually, I lied. It's not going to be one more tool because I just forgot something. Okay, so this is Larry Bird's aggressive crossover, right? So even though with Kyrie Irving style, you can just run. Even though with his hesitation, you can just hezi burst, right? All of those things are there for you. But I want to start putting you guys on game with the aggressive cross burst. So this is your aggressive cross, right? This is 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock on the stick. You do that kind of thing. So in and of itself, it's not really that good of a move for Larry, right? Like it's not that good of a move. But you see right there, if you interrupt that aggressive cross, you get a hezi cancel to the same side. The cool thing about this is like a real life basketball hezi cancel, right? So the normal hezi cancel is just like this kind of glitchy burst to the same side. That's like, it's fast and it's cool and it's great. But this version of it shows the ball for a second before he bursts, right? You see that? He shows the ball and he gives your opponent a chance to get themselves out of the play. So when you're doing all of these combos and you're setting people up and then you show them the ball, that's what breaks them off. That's what fakes him out. And so that is yet another very strong tool for Larry Bird. You know what I mean? So you put all of this stuff together, you can see how this card, honestly, I think this card could take a week or two to really feel of just like using this card high usage, bringing him into the practice space and really, you know, getting comfortable with these tools and then playing him in the wild. I almost do look at this card like a fighting game character. You don't expect to learn a fighting game character in a day or 2 days or 3 days. You know, you have to get into the practice room, take them out into competition, look at what you did, come back in, and just you have so many tools that you have to really keep reevaluating your own personal use of those tools. But if you do those things, I do think Larry Bird is actually one of the best cards in the game. So there's one more tool I want to talk about. And for this one, link in the description below, we're going to talk about the Steph Curry hop back. The Steph Curry hop jumpers are so good. And there's a lot of ways to use them. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to look at Kevin Cruz's video on that. Look at his small guard videos on this topic, because there's a lot of ways to use this that are very, very effective. I do think, even though the SIGs that he's using in the video, besides the hop jumper, they're not all the same SIGs, but I do think that the use case that he's using it, there's definitely some similar stuff that you can get going with that Steph Curry hop jumper package. But I'll direct you to Kevin Cruz for that, because if I add all of that information here, this video is going to be 45 minutes long. And I also want to show some love to my buddy K Cruz, because you know, he's a friend, and his channel is absolutely awesome. I'm sure many of you guys who follow me do already follow him, but he's less my team centric, so some of you guys might not know about him, and you should definitely you know, be aware of those tools and get that in your bag as well. And Kevin's great at talking about a lot of the more shot creator, Sim Nation focused stuff. We cover all of that stuff here, but I think that's such a good individual breakdown and tutorial of that stuff that I want you guys to take a look at that. So that is going to cover it for Larry Bird, an extremely deep card. It's worth mentioning, yes, he has Pro 2 leaner. His SIGs are just lights out. The only thing this card doesn't have is just T-Mac or Patty Mills base. If he had that, he would be the best card in the game, I think. Just size, defense, shooting, SIGs, everything else. He's basically a perfect card outside of not having a perfect jumper, but he doesn't have a bad jumper. His jumper is actually excellent. It just takes time to use. Is it the quickest jumper on, you know, the catch and shoot? No, but I will show you one last thing before we get out of here. It is a good jumper on the soft moving shot. Like, so when you're moving a little bit, it's actually a pretty good jumper. So I keep calling for it. Hold on, here we go. So when you're moving like this, so if you have a play and you have those kind of soft moving shots, he doesn't have a slowdown. There you go. That right there, no slowdown. So he's excellent for that. So if you are a person who runs plays or actions and you have characters coming off of screens, Larry's actually going to be better at that than a lot of cards in the game. That's one of my biggest gripes with LeBron James cards. LeBron catches that ball, he signs his name, he gives it to Savannah, he has her frame it, she gives him the ball back, and then he takes the jumper. That is so annoying if you run any actions, particularly anything that's like a point freelance or a double screen that can get people open. It can really blow up your play, especially now that all of the cards are so good defensively. But with Larry, that's not an issue. So yeah, so Larry, tip number one, get used to these jumpers, get used to his moving shots, get really confident in them, because opponents have to give them to you, because he's too good of a dribbler, too good of a slasher for the opponent to not respect that element of his game. And that is going to finally shut it down with this Larry Bird tutorial. I hope this guy serves you guys well. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to either answer them in the comments or in a future video. And if there's some gameplay at some point with Larry Bird, don't be surprised. But until then, please like and subscribe. Thank you for all of your support. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.